Welcome to episode number 26 of the Dugout Report. I am here with Joe Doyle, Doyle to recap the opening week of the games and looking ahead to the top games this upcoming weekend and everything else. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. It's good to be on.
My first question is, what games from this past weekend stood out to you?
Yeah, so I mean, the opening weekend is always kind of a mixed bag. The games that stood out for me, I thought that Texas Tech and Tennessee, just the entire Globe Life tournament was a good tournament, a good showcase for some guys. I thought Billy Amick made himself look quite nice. I thought Drew Beam looked very, very good, and some of those other teams, Kyle Robinson looked like a pretty good arm on the Texas Tech staff, and so that stands out. I also think, I was pretty locked in on Wake Forest, and I was locked in on LSU to see how those guys would come out and how they would perform. But early on here, man, before we get into conference play, you're gonna get a lot of non-conference affairs that are more so a showcase and knocking off the rust than it is like premium competition. So I hope that answers your question.
My next question is, there's a variety of teams that I wrote out and wanted your thoughts on them. I picked Rutgers, Virginia, South Carolina, Ole Miss, LSU, and Tulane.
So let's start with Rutgers. I think Rutgers is a very interesting squad, and they're held together by some pretty interesting players. They've got a pitcher by the name of Donovan Zach, that is a pretty good lefty. He'll be someone to watch this season. I think Joshua Kuroda-Grauer is one of the more unheralded shortstops in the country. I wouldn't surprise me if he went in the 3 to 5 round range. He's a pretty talented infielder. And then the other guy to watch out for on this team is third baseman Tony Santamaria. He missed a lot of last year with a shoulder injury. He absolutely mashed in 2022. He's a very, very good bat. I think Rutgers is sneaky, and they've got some good players that are 2025 eligible as well that I think are certainly some players to watch. It's a deeper team than a lot of people are probably giving them credit for. Virginia is for what seems like the 20th year in a row, they are absolutely loaded. Griffo Farrell up the middle of the field is a star. He's going to be he might be the first true shortstop taken in the draft from the college side. They've got a ton of other guys like Casey Sauke, Jay Woolfolk is starting this year. Ethan Anderson is one of my favorite bats in the class, and then you look at Godbout, you look at Henry Ford, a true freshman. They just look like they're going to mash once again. So they're a pretty impressive squad, and they look good in 2025 and 2026 as well. Remind me of a couple of the other teams that you pointed out there.
South Carolina, Ole Miss, LSU, and Tulane.
South Carolina is interesting. They've got a lot of nice pieces. I don't know if they have the depth in the starting rotation to make an Omaha run, but Roman Kimball looked good. I think everyone was really looking forward to seeing what Roman Kimball would be able to accomplish this year. I'm looking forward to seeing if Eli Drzembic gets on the mound, but Carson Hornig, Ethan Petrie, Cole Messina, Will Tippett, Gavin Cassis, they've got so many bats. It's just, are they going to be able to pitch and stay with the rest of the teams in that conference that can really just give you 9 innings? I'll do one more. Give me one more team there. I'm sorry, I missed the last ones.
Tulane.
Tulane, that's a very interesting call. Tulane's got a couple of players that I think are pretty interesting, especially a couple of outfielders that I'll be watching this year in Teo Banks and Jackson Lynn. I've been very high on Jackson Lynn going back to his high school days. It's a ton of raw power, from the right side. 6'3", 210 pounds. He was beat up last year. I think he was recovering from Tommy John for a lot of the year. But he's got massive power. And then, like I said, Teo Banks, a priority add on the transfer portal. He's a very, very good athlete, and I think he's lean, he's wiry. He could move up draft boards pretty quick. Jake Somm transferred out there out of I think Jake Som was out of UCLA. He gives that team considerable experience that they seem to lack on the mound. So sneaky team. Don't know if they have an Omaha run in them, but certainly they've got talent to check in on a weekly basis.
I what are your thoughts on the UVA ODU series that starts tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's frankly, Old Dominion has been a good team for a while now. I don't know, they've always been kind of held up by upperclassmen, the redshirt juniors, the seniors, the grad transfers. I don't know if they have some of the special talent that they've had in recent years. I would expect now Virginia still has to prove that they can pitch. They're not chock full of arms this year like they have been. I think Jay Woolfolk is a very good pitcher. I think Jordan Vera is a name that I personally want to keep an eye on. But they're going to have to prove that they can pitch. I would expect, I would expect Virginia to take this series. We'll see whether or not that actually ends up being the case. Um, Another guy to watch out for in that Virginia series is Luke Hansen. He's a 2025 true freshman. I think he could get some time at second base and impress some people. So just such a loaded lineup. I don't know if this is going to be the year that Old Dominion has seen in recent years, but Virginia, again, like I said, they look like a pretty complete team if they can find some pitching.
My next question is, I'll definitely be tuned into some games later today, and was wondering which games I should be focused on and should really uh, watch.
For today,
Yeah.
so for today, I'm watching East Carolina and Campbell. And also, I think it's worth putting on Kansas State and Arizona State. Kansas State has a kid in Kalen Culpepper who I think could be a first round pick. He's a pretty impressive second base shortstop, really good bat, budding power. And then Arizona State always has dudes up and down their lineup that are going to get drafted. Another team looking for pitching, but they've got quite a few bats. I think this could be a great year for McLean out there. East Carolina and Campbell, they've always got guys that end up getting taken in the 4 to 10 round range that not as many people know of that I think should know about them. I'll give you an example. They've got a kid out at Campbell called named Dalen Thompson. He's a second base outfield prospect. Um, he was a part-time player last year, but it looks like he's moving into a full-time role this year. He's a plus runner. There's some raw power there. There's some bat speed. There's versatility, and just a smattering of impact tools. I expect him to develop into one of the more intriguing table setting prospects in this class. Um, but in terms of like what you need to watch out for with Campbell, Derek Vartanian's not going to go, and he got beat up a little bit in the first week. Keep an eye on David Rosso. Keep an eye on Grant Knipp, especially Grant Knipp, just a guy that Joey Weimer-esque. It's 70 grade raw power. It's 98 on the mound. A pretty special talent. So those would be some guys to keep an eye out for in that series.
I got a couple more questions. So my first one is, what are what are your thoughts on the East Carolina against UNC this weekend?
UNC looks pretty good. They return a lot of players that Osuna's out there, Honeycutt's out there. I think they've got some good pitching. And Ben Peterson, Parks Harbor continues to stay at North Carolina. I think Dalton Pence is a pretty good arm. They've got Folger Boaz, who is a good lefty that should get some time, some extended innings this year.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, you fold in Vanderbrake and Harbor and Honeycutt and Alberto Osuna, and they're kind of a complete team. I think they're going to be a little bit better than they were last year, and last year was a step back for them. So, this is a good. I don't know if it's a great North Carolina team, but it's a pretty competitive team this year. In terms of East Carolina, like Trey Savage might be a first round pitcher. He's up to 97 with a dynamite slider, and they've got some good bats out there. Jacob Jenkins Coward is one of the more powerful left-handed hitting outfielders in the country, and for my money at least, Danny Beal is another arm that pitches for East Carolina. Good stuff. Probably a reliever, but this is a good matchup. Like East Carolina's got the starting pitching to compete with North Carolina. They've got the impact bat in Jacob Jenkins Cowart, and North Carolina is deeper than they've been in recent years. Specifically last year, they were pretty good in 2022. So I would probably take North Carolina in the series to take 2 out of 3, but anytime North Carolina, anytime a team has to deal with Trey Savage for one game, that's going to be a pretty difficult W for the Tar Heels to walk away with. So should be a great matchup, a very good series to watch.
I I'm a big fan of the Ivy League, and don't know if you uh, follow any teams closely in the Ivy League, but I wanted your thoughts on how Princeton will do.
I don't know a whole bunch about Princeton this year. They lost a couple of prospects that I didn't think were going to get signed. So I think it's a wait and see mode for me with Princeton. I don't have as a good a feel on how they're going to perform this year than I have in the past. Now, if we're talking Ivy League, Harvard is going to be a pretty good force to deal with. They've got two arms in Sean Matson and Tanner Smith, both of which could be top 5, top 6 round arms. Matson is a strike thrower. He's got 4 pitches. It's not like punch out stuff, but he's the type of guy that can go 7 or 8 innings. I think he's been up into the mid to upper 90s this fall, so that's kind of a breakthrough type of a player. And then Tanner Smith was really good in 2022. He missed 2023. He's back in 2024. He's been up to 98. There's a big curveball. And he's got that big 6'6", 240 pound, what they look like starting pitcher at the next level type of a frame. So if I was to key in on one Ivy League team this year, it would be Harvard, and it's because they've got two very, very good pitchers.
Mhm. My next question is, it's kind of an interesting question. I know we saw in the Long Beach State game, the game was cut short because of the of a curfew, and I wanted your perspective on the near future of games that happen like that. And do you think that, uh, like, if it happens to another game, do you think that they will play through, or do you think it will happen like what they did?
I don't think they're going to play through a curfew. I would be very surprised if they broke an ordinance like that to continue the game. I think there might be some, at least in that example, they may be some, schedule finagling. They may move games up an hour just to make sure that they don't run into that issue anymore. I think it was pretty, just kind of an outlier. I don't think you're going to see too much more of that. Now, it is something to consider if you're Long Beach uh, going forward with those ordinances, but probably an outlier type of a situation. I wouldn't anticipate seeing it too much more going forward.
I didn't understand it because it was like it ended right at the sunset time.
Yeah.
So, uh, why do you think they cut it short?
I mean, usually it probably has to do with either university policy, town
Yeah.
policy, city policy. I don't, I, you know, I, I'm by no means a city official or a county official. I don't actually have the backstory of what happened there, but I would assume it has absolutely nothing to do with the two baseball programs and more so to do with um, the university or the baseball program avoiding a fine, that type of a thing.
Yeah, it was the first thing that happened in college baseball for a good amount of time, and
Yeah.
I was really surprised that it happened.
Yeah, it was very weird. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that happening. So, and again, I didn't do a lot of digging in this. I just read the headlines and read the story. Um, but yeah, very odd, especially the first week of the season. You never like to see things like that.
So I have three more questions.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the Kubota college baseball series?
The which series?
Uh, Kubota, it's Kubota.
Yeah, the Kubota series.
Yeah,
Um,
Kubota.
listen, for one, I just want to point one thing out. I don't like that everything seems to be, there's so many different viewing platforms right now for people to subscribe to be able to watch college baseball. It's frustrating. Between Flow Sports and Highline Sports and D1 Baseball and ESPN and ACC Network, it's just becoming so much for people to be able to watch these early season games. Now, to answer the actual question, I'm really looking forward to Oregon State and Texas Tech. I think that's going to be a great game, and I think it's going to be a great showcase for Travis Bazzana to hit in front of um, some really, really good arms. And, he wasn't really tested in terms of good arms in week one. That's going to be a good one. Um, in terms of what this upcoming weekend looks like, Michigan and Oregon State should be very, very good. Oregon State and Arkansas should be very, very good. It's Oklahoma State is in there. Like there's just a ton of quality teams that should throw together a great viewing experience. So that's probably appointment television this weekend, and it's definitely somewhere where I will be cued in. Like I said, it is very unfortunate and frustrating that these tournaments are on, another platform, Flow Baseball, but I understand it's a capitalistic market and everyone's trying to make money. And it's just a shame that it's not a little bit more accessible to the casual fan.
So my next question is, like each day, how do you pick which games to watch, and like what what makes you want to watch that specific game?
Yeah, so I think for me, I have a running spreadsheet and it communicates with backend API at ESPN. And what that does is it puts every game that's happening on that day right in front of me. It communicates with my spreadsheet with all the prospects that are in college baseball that I think are draft eligible. And it tells me where the most top tier prospects are. Where are the best players playing? Where are the best pitchers seeing the best hitters? And so I just follow that. I know that everyone doesn't have access to that, but I would just encourage you, if you're a fan of the draft, if you're a fan of college baseball, go on to one of these publications sites, look at the top prospects, look at where they're playing, and then look at calendars and see whether or not there's some big names on both sides of the ball for two games. Like you look at this Arkansas and Oregon State matchup. Like you're going to get Travis Bazzana, who for me is the number 3 overall prospect in the draft, facing off on Friday against Hagen Smith, a left-handed pitcher for Arkansas, who for me is a top 20 pick as well. So I look for things like that. I look for dynamic outings, dynamic contests between top prospects, and that's generally where my eyes go.
My second to last question is, what games this weekend should people be uh keeping an eye on?
Well, I mean, that Kubota series is going to be big. Yeah. Oregon
Mhm.
State and Arkansas, I think, is must-watch television. I think Arkansas against Oklahoma State on Saturday is also an extremely important game to watch. You get Carson Benj, you get Jared Sprague-Lott. You get a lot of good Arkansas hitters against um, some talented Oklahoma State armed. Brian Holiday should pitch in that game. So, like, listen, if you've got $15 to spend and you really want to watch, the top prospects in college baseball, I can just rail them off. Like, you get Brian Holiday, you get Jansen Kiesel, you get Carson Benj, Mitch Voigt, Travis Bazzana, Hagen Smith, Jared Sprague-Lott. Um, you get a lot of really, really good players in that Flow Baseball Kubota series that I would certainly encourage you to commit to that if you've got the time. And if you're in the state of Texas, just go to Globe Life. Just go to Globe Life and watch the games because it's a whole marathon. It's an all-day type of an adventure, and it's worth your time.
I'm I'm actually located in New Jersey.
So I'm just saying if anybody is
Oh,
listening to this podcast, make sure that to go check it out. That should be a good one.
yeah, Globe Life looks amazing, and it definitely looks like a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it should be a good one, man. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I'm gonna subscribe to Flow Baseball to check it out. And I would encourage anyone to do it.
My last question is, what games do you want to keep an eye on from the 27th to March 3rd?
Oh man, I to be honest with you, I haven't even looked that far forward.
Uh,
I'm just trying to keep all my ducks in a row. Right now I'm balancing watching college baseball and getting to know all these guys, but also taking in a whole bunch of high school baseball. So I like to take it one week at a time, especially because prospects come up, prospects fall down, and I'm a prospect hound, so I'm always looking for the best matchups between the best hitters and the best pitchers. So I'll probably get through this weekend, get a good feel for where some of the best players in the country are at with their games, and then I'll decide from that point forward. But it should be a great college baseball season, and I'm just trying to take it one day at a time.
Sounds good. I'll definitely have you on in the near future to talk baseball, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to joining this show again. You're good stuff. This is good content, and yeah, just let me know if you ever want me on anytime again. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. We'll see, man.
Okay.